Welcome back to this episode of Uncover the Human. Today we're joined with our guest, Maria Putnam. Welcome to the podcast, Maria.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Great to have you.
Thank you. It's really good, Christina. Thank you so much.
So you may recognize Maria's voice from one of our brief interviews we got to do at the local TEDx event we were at. So we're excited to have you on for a full episode, Maria. So to give everybody a little background on you, what's your story? What brought you here?
Love that question. Thank you for that. My story. Well, Bogota, Colombia is my home country. Love it. Love cities. So I have a big family, very family oriented. I left actually Colombia when I was in high school and started high school. I had the opportunity to attend international school. So I live in Switzerland and then I live in France. And then I actually finished high school here in the States. That's how I came to United States, because I finished in Houston, Texas. Then went back to Colombia and then came back here to do all my education, my college, and then my master, and then all the certifications in education. So that's my story. Love my country, love people from around the world, and that's about me.
That's great. I had no idea that you had gone to school in Switzerland and France and all around. That's really cool.
Yeah, really, it was one of the best experiences I have, is to go to school with people from around the world and really help you. I wish everybody had that opportunity to just be to study with people from everywhere.
Yeah. We could definitely do a whole podcast episode on just that. What did you like the most? Because I grew up in Italy. I came to the US actually as an exchange student in high school. And then I came to the US for college. So I kind of did the reverse, most of my school in Italy and here. But I also worked in Switzerland with kids from all over the world for 6 summers. And so when all of that experience, and I've gone to a million camps everywhere around Europe. And so that experience is definitely one that I want my kids to have, because, just having that completely different setting while they're in school, I think it's very formative.
Absolutely. It is really help us to be more aware and to grow up with a much bigger perspective of what is the world about. And I say that in the best and most kind way, because being in the United States, especially I've been in Denver for 30 years, and being in the United States, it's interesting how we see that United States, it's a beautiful country, but it's one more country of many, many countries. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when we have, when we were going to school, we pretty much have a catalog to what school we're gonna go to, what country. So I remember when I chose United States was one of the countries who was the catalog of the school that they have the partnership with. So perspective. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is some of the best perspective gain that you got after leaving Colombia?
That we are all connected, no matter where we are. We all have things in common. No matter what language we speak, no matter what country we live or we come from, we all have something in common. You find beautiful people everywhere.
I love that definition. It's so true. That's one of the things that I've been wanting my kids to understand, because they do have that fear, which is totally understandable, of when we travel or if we go and live somewhere else, is they're not going to know the language. And so they're immediately, how do I communicate? I'm like, oh, you'll communicate. Language is not a barrier for communication.
You'll communicate. Absolutely right. I had the opportunity 6 years ago to go to Cape Town. And I was asked to lead a meeting, and we're supposed to have someone already scheduled to do the translation. and that person didn't show up. And I have to come up with a presentation and to deliver a meeting, pretty much to lead a meeting without speaking the language. And I have to say that it's so handy in our lives to have the opportunity to have awareness and to think on our feet. And I remember I asked for markers and I start doing graphics and people start like, okay, yeah, no, yeah. So it was more like a body language and so it's exactly what you were saying, Christina. It's beyond to speaking the language. Yeah.
I think, Christina, you just recently shared this quote, or maybe I just happened to read it in one of our communication posts, but I think it's George Bernard Shaw or something, but it's the quote that the biggest mistake in communication is assuming that it's happened. And I think that kind of we assume, even when we speak the same language, that we're actually saying the same things, but there's so much more that goes into actually communicating what we mean. So I kind of love that experience of, hey, there was no common language in the first place, but we still had to go get to that communication connection. And so there are different ways to do that. So it's a cool experience that you kind of had to jump in and not be able to use what we usually lean on, even though that doesn't always deliver the connection we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was a decision that I made in seconds in my mind. I remember like, oh, wow, what? Okay. Oh, do you have paper? Do you have markers? Let's do this. I mean, it's like, okay, so I pretty much communicate with my body language. Say, let's do a circle. So I start doing graphics and explaining and getting the concept down to graphics in seconds. I have to do that, in order. And I say, so I give them a sign. Did you understand? Do this. You understand? They know, like, yes, no, it was amazing. But yes, confirm that not has to do also with connecting with people in a very genuine way. Tracing places, being able to be at the same ground, at the same level, never putting ourselves above of anything. Become, actually, I love the way that the name of your podcast, became human. That human side is what really connects us all. And that I treasure that experience in my heart, because I really, something really clicked inside me that I will never forget, is that we are all so human and connected. And we just need to find ways to do that more often. Sometimes we keep around, if I don't speak English, if I don't speak Japanese, if I don't speak Chinese, if I don't speak that. So I start putting those barriers. And it's not. We should, I think that it's just taking all that and let's meet at the human level.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Beautifully said. It's so true. So how do you bring this connection and these perspectives in your day-to-day life now?
In my work, actually, I am very fortunate to lead a wonderful program for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I connect with people from around the world, because we actually have designed a curriculum to certify leaders in diversity, equity, and inclusion, so they can apply DEI in their work places. And part of the program that they do is they have to work directly with advisors. So I'm working directly with people and helping them to apply the DEI in areas where need to be applied, and develop. So it is part of the program that is called, they have to do the project for change. And it's based on them identifying a gap where they want to make that change happen. So that's the best part. So that's how I apply more what all my experience, all my knowledge. I have a big background in education, so So that's how.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about DEI, and people tend to start to lose momentum. They'll say it's important. They don't necessarily know how to apply it. But I love that idea of having like advisors. If it's not too much information to share, what kind of stuff do you do to help advise and bring people through that change?
Well, the beginning of the project, they need to come up with part of the first part. They have to identify this where there is a gap. So let's say there is no awareness of DEI. So we come up with, we brainstorm ideas, and let's put one specific, a DEI committee. I have a student want to have a DEI committee. So what do you need? What are the needs of the committee? So we're gonna work, and they do the whole project. The student do the whole proposal. And actually, interesting enough, when they finish, sometimes they go and launch it, and they have sometimes, not everybody sees how important it is, or they understand pretty much what is this DEI committee about, for example. So that's the time also where they reach out to me and they say, well, HR is not really collaborating. I don't know. So it's really good for me to jump on and say, well, let's figure out how. And it's been opportunities where they ask me to go and talk to their teams. And I'm happy to do that when I can do that. I'm happy to support whatever needs to be done for them to get results. Because everybody agreed. Not too long ago, I did that for one of my students, and the CEO of the company actually was in the meeting. And 2 days after, I got an email from the CEO that they want 20 of the people from the company to get certified. Because in my experience, I think that when you invest in the people who are already invested in your company, that's the best way to do it, rather than perhaps bringing someone from outside to do DI, especially when it has to do with the culture of the company. But when you educate your people, you have that. So
yeah, that's a great way, and that's a really insightful piece that you brought together, which is like, if you involve the people that are invested in the company already, then there's buy-in, and they understand the culture, and they understand how to integrate what's happening internally with what needs to change, as opposed to just coming from the outside with like, here's a bunch of information on DEI, good luck.
Yeah. Or to buy a really expensive software. Because a lot of companies are doing that. They buy a very expensive software. And when you talk to those employees, they say, yeah, we did everything. Yeah, we took a class. Yeah. But they have the DI is not just the check the box. DI is deeper than that. So yes, you're doing what you need to do in the corporate, but you're not really making a difference. And that's a huge difference. Doing what you need to do doesn't mean that you're making a difference. And DEI, from my perspective, start with ourselves. With that intention, to even the curiosity. There is people who just to be curious, and they say, oh, I am hosting, for example, some meetings monthly to 30 organizations right now. And it's just a DEI conversation. So everybody's welcome. And at the level that they are, I mean, it's like there is no requirements that you have to be at any specific level of DEI. And something that I've been finding now in those meetings, very interesting enough, is that people start asking questions and then realizing, you know what? I really want to learn more about this. Actually, I really want to learn more about this. Yesterday, I had that meeting, and one of the students, one of the persons who attended the meeting, he's actually an HR director. And we're talking about accommodation for disabilities. And I talk about some of the laws that are in place. And at the end of the conversation, say, you know what? I think I'd rather be certified. I think that I need to. So finally clicks on him that he needs to know more about it. But that's a whole different, that when you just take that step, for me, like, yes, then you want to do it. And with the design of the institute, for example, the program that we offer, that's something that I want to really be, that I want to be away from, is that everybody have to, because I have been in the other side when the boss requests. It's a requirement. And when it's a requirement for you to attend a meeting, for you, it's a requirement to get certified, the motivation is gone. You do things that you have to do to keep your job, but not something that you decide to do it. So I love when that happens. We say, I'm going to do it. I would like to do it. That make a whole different, the experience and the result is different.
Yeah, the difference from I have to do it to I want to do it is huge. Otherwise, you're just checking boxes.
Yep. Yeah. And there is nothing that really sink on you. There is nothing that you, because actually, in anything that we learn in our lives, there is a part in our brains where we make a decision to know what to do with what we learn. Because there is something that really sinks and say, what do I do with this? And it's beautiful when that happens, if we allow that to happen.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it makes me think about like the kind of two tracks that we can go on in our brains. We can either go on the, hey, I'm just going to get through this. And there's so many things in life that we do just have to get through, like, grocery shopping, doing laundry,
washing the dishes,
just put it on autopilot, get the box checked. Yeah. But when we commit to that on something like, DEI or anything that's a much larger mindset investment, that commitment internally is so much more important to this. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to use it? And we've seen this with a few companies that love things like frameworks, love things like, hey, what if we had just like a framework for conflict or something? And yes, that might be helpful to get you to think about conflict, but how many times when you're in the middle of it are you going to suddenly whip out a chart and be like, hey, by the way, where are we on this? And what are we doing? Like, until you actually internalize, hey, how am I going to use this? It just becomes something that is, unless you treat it like the springboard that it is to get you to think about this and to get you to conceptualize it and really put it in your body, it's hard to make that something that becomes a reality.
Yep, absolutely. I think that there is a mental process. There is the subconscious mind and then the conscious mind. And I think in the first time that we talk about that, you guys actually invite me to talk this short talk, and we were talking about intention. And I think that that's where the intention takes place, because there is an intention there, that we have an intention of making this move or that move. And sometimes it's very unconscious, but conscious, and then you make an intention is more conscious. And then there is a part that happened with DI specifically, and that is the reflection part. When you reflect on something, there is so many pieces that takes place, and then you make a decision. And that's just a matter of seconds. It's just doesn't take like hours or no, it's just a matter of seconds. But when you have the information that is already there, it's much better. You will make an informed decision. You will make a better decision for yourself and for others. That's all.
Yeah, it's so true. The intention. I love the difference between unconscious and conscious intention. Because the unconscious intention is really the autopilot. It's like, this is what I know. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do. I'm just going to act without really, I'm going to react instead of respond. And I'm just going to keep going. And yeah, sure, that's my intention. I'm like, but is an intention, the definition of intention, something that's conscious that you actually decide to do?
Yeah. I think that's what really makes a difference. In education, I usually talk a lot about how important it is to make educated decisions. When you're educated, you make better decisions. And like you say, Christina, the subconscious mind accumulates so much stuff. And then in DEI, we talk about unconscious bias, for example. And people say, well, sometimes say, well, I'm not a racist. I don't have any problem. Why do I have to feel like, say, no, there is so much stuff. So I start giving examples. When you were 5 years old, the TV was on. There are things that, we accumulate all the time, things, all the time. The media, schools, friends. We accumulate everything. It's amazing. It's like accumulating. So we have a lot there. The key of that is when we are conscious that we have that subconscious mind, and then how we are using that information to the conscious mind and what we are doing with that. So it's that process, and if we are conscious about of the process and what we have and where we're gonna have, that make a big difference. That's all.
Yeah. It reminds me of my kids. I have 2 sons. And so even simple things like, going to Target and looking for a toy, or, walking around, and how they skip the girls' aisles. And I'm doing quotes for people not looking at the video. Because they're girls' aisles. It's dolls, and it's whatever society has determined that it should be girls' play. And I am making a conscious effort to try and break that. Even when they say it, and they say like, no, not this aisle, that's just for girls. And I'm like, well, is it just for girls? Like, why do toys have to be for boys or girls? Where's the division? But because I also grew up with that bias, I have a hard time figuring out, like, how do I help him break a bias that I even have?
Yeah, that is such a beautiful. You put it so well. Love it. Yeah, that's a responsibility, and that's beautiful, because yes, we're gonna teach the younger generation, our kids or students, or any younger generation, to be more aware, to don't have those bias, and how we unlearn what we already learned.
Yeah. How do I unlearn that?
So like, okay, well, we are all in the same pile. It's a very human side, it's very, and it's beautiful when we realize that, hey, yes, I have bias. What can I do with that? First thing is that to recognize I have bias. Two, what I'm gonna do with that is to be proactive. Every single time that one bias comes, like, oops, okay. What can I do with that? Maybe the first time we don't do anything because it just come automatically. It's absolute subconscious thing. Yes, we react sometimes. We think about it. It's just not only the act, we sometimes just think about it. But the more we do become conscious and say, okay, now I'm going to change that. I need to change that. The more we recognize it, the better off we are, because we can become better and better and better. And then that loses the power and it's gone. So we're like, okay, cool. And then the next part, and I always talk about this, is make sure to do something to congratulate yourself in anything that you achieve, because that's a message for the subconscious mind to say, yes, you can do it, and that was a great job.
I love that.
That's a really good point. I think it's me.
Go ahead. No.
I was going to say that is, I think, sometimes missing. People get so worried about getting it right, and then they mostly just focus on times when they think they got it wrong, and then when they do it okay, or they think they did it okay, they kind of skip that over. Like, okay, well, that was one time, but what's the next? Or they just keep looking out for the gaps. But I love that idea of that celebration. Go reinforce to the subconscious. No, this is what we were looking for. Good job, you did it. Like, let's keep that train going.
Yes, I think that is very important. And that is something that we are missing a lot, is to make sure that every single time that we make a difference in whatever we are working on, Every single time that we achieve something, no matter how little it is, we say, good job. It's like treating ourselves like this kid. Good job. As you know, my background is in education. And one of the things that I always think about is when we learn, we are kids. And the best way to learn is by playing. So what happens when we play? We really get into whatever we learn. Like we just enjoy, we get engaged, time goes so fast. And like, and then you learn and you want to come back there. And we forget that as an adult. Still like I'm going to this, like, no. Stop that train. Let's have fun. Let's do whatever we're doing. Let's have fun with this. And I think that we tend to be very hard on ourselves. And I don't know, it's part of our programmation, I guess. I don't know. But it's like, do it everything right first. No, we don't do everything right. You have to be an adult. Yeah, be responsible. But that have fun with whatever you do. Have fun. Being an adult doesn't mean being stressed out, being so like a square mindset, being like, like this stereotype of being an adult, you have to have a straight face, you cannot love you. No. So it's just changing the whole dynamic and going back to how we talk to ourselves. I mean, what is the conversation that we have with ourselves? If we are more conscious about that, and we treat ourselves good, we're gonna feel better about everything. We're gonna treat everybody better.
It's true. Yeah.
That is a good point. We do tend to create this fake spectrum of like fun to adult, and those two exist in opposition of each other, and we can't have overlap. And if you're going too fun, you're not being adult enough. If you're going too adult, you definitely have to cut out all the fun. And why do we take out all these rewards that help us just cope and just enjoy life? Like you only live once anyway. Like why are we so determined to not enjoy life?
Exactly. And that goes to the idea of performing, to perform. So yeah, I think that it's so important. In DEI, one of the things that I do when I do DEI groups, I play. We start always playing. We start always playing, and that really changed the mindset. DEI is a topic that people feel a little bit or a lot stressed out. They feel a little bit like, I don't know if I'm gonna be put on the spot. I don't know if I know enough. I don't know. So they judge themselves. They go through this list of what if I. So I feel the tense in the atmosphere. I feel that so one of the things that I do, I always start by playing a game. And that changed the whole dynamic of the meeting, because people engage and have fun. And at the end, I say, how was your DEI experience? Oh, I love it. Oh, that was so cool. Oh, that was so much fun. That's it. Just start meaning like, okay, let's go around the room and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do. What is your position? Everybody's like, oh, jeez. Especially if you have a boss around, like, oh my gosh, no. Yeah. So no, people suffer. You don't want people to suffer in meetings, especially when you want them to, when there is a special topic, when there is something that everybody already feels stressed out. So playing, let's don't forget to play.
Yeah, that's a great way to start anything, pretty much. Meetings, sessions, trainings, anything, especially when they're going to be uncomfortable. There is a bias to what's going to happen in the room already. And so breaking that and making it, different from the beginning so that it's not so serious. It's not so, let's just feed the bias.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a very good way to learn anything and to be effective in whatever we do with ourselves as well. I mean, that's it. It's to laugh more often, just to laugh. We sometimes go so serious. How many times we laugh in our days? Sometimes when I talk to people, I like to laugh. I like to see my friends and laugh. So in DEI, it's a beautiful way for people to kind of, okay, you know what? Everything is just fine. So let's have fun learning and unlearning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And recognizing it, because the only way to grow is to recognize something. I have experience when it was like 7 years ago, someone in a group said, well, do I have to feel guilty about being white? So, I always thought about, like, why? Okay, this is what I thought. Somebody saying, well, do I have to feel guilty about being white? The next comment that person made was, I was glad that the book that we were reading was written for a white woman. So when you really see someone with kind eyes and you hear someone with your heart, there was nothing wrong with what she said. There is a child here who's feeling that perhaps there is people against of her belief systems. So she's afraid. There is fear. And when you see someone with that, you change your whole perspective. You don't react. You go around and say, wow, just tell me, so what do you think? What was your feeling when you were reading the book? Why did you say that? So people can tell you more. And that was so nice, because if you come back to being defensive, like, wow, the people react.
Yeah.
And reaction usually, always when people react, in my experience, is because there is so much fear on being hurt. Why? Because they have already been hurt. So it is so much in the eye. I have to tell you, I love what I do. I really do.
It comes through.
Yeah, comes across.
It definitely comes. Yeah.
Yeah, right now we are organizing a DEI conference. It's the first one in Colorado. Wow. And it's so exciting to think about who are those people who are making or have been making a difference in DEI. And think about what people really wanted to hear when they go to a DEI conference. And it's so beautiful working in the agenda, and that is something that we are doing right now with the committee. But it's putting ourselves in everybody's shoes. Like, okay, if I go to a conference, as a DI practitioner, someone who's trying to break the ground in my company, what are my expectations? What I want to get out of the conference? If I am overseeing, if I am a CEO of the company, what I am looking for in a conference? If I just like the topic, what I'm going for, what I want to hear. So this has been such an interesting process, and we are working in that right now, and you guys are invited. So yes, that's something that, and it's thinking about DEI in a different perspective with all kind of audience,
Yeah, we would love to be there for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was my first thought, is like, where do I sign up? I want to go.
Yeah.
Let me get that.
Yes, I will send you the link. It's gonna be in August 16th. So
Excellent. All right.
yes,
Oh,
and then yes, it's gonna be there. So yeah, but it's all about DEI is a very wide, deep topic. And you can study, you can do a whole PhD, you can study for years, and you will always feel like there is so much to learn still. I'm hosting the people who graduate from the program, create a network. So we are meeting once a month and we keep learning. We can coming up with what is going on right now in DEI. And I always said, the more I know, the more I know that I need to know more. So there is so much to learn. There is so much to learn. Laws, they change all the time. There is so much history. And we are not talking about only United States. There is so much history and DEI. Yeah. So I think that it's a beautiful journey, and I think that everybody should just always, learn anything that they can. DEI is one of them, but DEI is about human rights. That's all.
Yes,
and we are
it is
human. We're human rights. Learn about what are your rights. That's it.
Yeah.
I had a student in the beginning when she started. She's like, well, I thought DI was only for African Americans because that people really have it hard. And like, but Maria, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. And I didn't know. And she actually is a high executive in a big company who actually hire people around the world. And it was beautiful how she connect with, oh, wow, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. So it's like, it's a human right to learn. Let's put it that way.
Yes. It is a human right to learn.
I think that sets the right expectation too, because you have to continually learn. And DEI is a topic, and it's kind of a subsection, but the influences run in every arena of what we do. It runs in every piece of what we do. We can focus on it and understand it better, and it still applies in every space, not just in the DEI committee at the company, not just in this. The whole point is that it becomes an infusion. It becomes something that is learned and more ingrained in how we act, more than what we do on a committee level. Yeah, it's interesting to see people go through that learning process and have to start to integrate that, start to see that in a wider lens.
Yeah, Alex, actually you brought something absolutely. It's not in the corporate is just one place. No, DI is everywhere. DI is huge in education. What is going on in education right now? Are we really, what is the difference about equity and equality, especially everywhere in all the scales? Have you ever really looked closer to a curriculum with the lens of equity? So who are designing the curriculum for the kids? What do we need the kids to learn? I mean, we have kids. What do I want my kids to learn? Only one side, designed by who? Who put this curriculum together? So there is some questions in DEI everywhere. Absolutely. I mean, that is one thing that actually I play with when I do groups in DEI is, let's talk about our names. Do you like your name? And when you ask that question to people, you have no idea how much information you can get about DEI. Just by asking, do you like your name? So I think that there is so much in all the areas, and it's education, it's law, it's politics, it's religions, it's all in all the areas. It's not only corporate, not at all. Corporate is just only one tiny part. That's it. But no, it's huge. It's a system. So
it's a system for changing mindsets, and the mindsets are everywhere.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And then we go back in history. You can, when you learn about the history of colonization in the Western, and then you learn, oh, wow, we are doing the same thing now. Oh, wow, that's not new. Nothing of what happened is new. Oh, really? No, we just changed the words, but it's the same. Are we doing the same? Why? Because we haven't changed it. Why we haven't changed it? Because we haven't been conscious. Why we haven't conscious? Because there is institutions. Why is institution? Because and we just go and go and go and go. Well, it's much better to have people ignorant. Oh my gosh, it's the best business. It's the best business model. Is you, and the more ignorant people is, the better for people to just, lay out whatever they need to lay out. And but the more we know, that's why education is a power. We question ourselves. We become just so powerful.
That's one thing I really like about your design and your curriculum, how you ask people to go and find the gap first, because that's such an important part in DIA and life in general, is looking around the table and seeing what's not there, not in like who's not represented, but what ideas aren't there. When you look at a curriculum, who's not part of writing this curriculum? And it's not to blame the people that put it together, but it's to identify what these spaces are that need to be influenced, need to be brought out a little bit more. Where are we not looking more than what do we already have, or what should we do? And that's such an important and difficult thing to start to master. Start to look for the spaces between. Look for the people who are quiet. Look for the people who aren't speaking up. And that's something that happens in all kinds of meetings. And that's just, I love that mindset change of looking for what's not there, looking for what needs to be added more than what already exists.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that you put it really nice, Alice. I really appreciate that, because it's not looking for the problem that you have. It's looking for where you can bring up a solution.
Yes.
I mean, as a boss, if you have someone say, well, this doesn't work and this doesn't work, okay, give me a solution. What are you going to do? But if you come someone, well, hey, this is not working, but I actually think about this idea. What do you think about it? Oh, I love it. Great. Yeah. Go. Yeah. What do you need? Yeah. You have my support.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you come up with a bunch of problems, no. So it's just changing that mindset of being part of the solution. Become part of that chain. Yeah. Be the chain. Be that agent of change wherever you are and whatever you're doing as a mom, a small business. Some people say, but Maria, I am the owner of the company. So like, perfect. You can make it, you don't have employees. That's fine. So it's wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Yes. Let's bring education.
Yes. Very true.
Yeah, education. Actually, Mandela used to say, education is the most powerful weapon. And I think so. I think that's it. That's why education in some third world countries, it's not something that everybody can access to. Yeah. It's very hard to get educated in third world countries. Only people who have financially is well off, they can afford good education and not even think about leaving the country and studying overseas. Not everybody can afford that. It's just they have to survive. So there is a whole thing that there is a whole lack of resources. But more than that is the structure of the systems. Yeah. So that's why there is a really good documentary that is called What the Blurred We're Talking About. And that actually, this guy did a really amazing job going through a lot of countries and finding what is good, what is working and what is not working. The reason why I like that documentary is because he actually highlighted the countries where education is free and it's a really good education. Like, for example, Germany, New Zealand. And he actually make a comparison how much kids here get in debt in the United States, where they can actually I have met people 40 years old and they still paying student loans.
Oh yeah.
Easy. That's normal here. but so the guy make a country say, why did they have the information that there is other countries where they can study and they can go for free? And there is a lot of countries actually who have a partnership with the United States where you just have to take a test. You need to take a test and to get into the educational system. That's all. So, but do we have that information in high schools? No. Who is doing? I mean, usually the person who's handling advising advising in high school is the person who does everything in counseling. So there is no resources. They don't have the resources. They don't prioritize that position. That position should be a main position because the kids in high school, they don't know. They don't want to hear their parents. They get to the point where whatever their parents say, I don't want to hear it. Yep. So the school is still really playing a very important role in those kids' life. In that position of counseling or the position of career advancing or whatever they call it, or going to college, it's huge. Yeah. But these kids don't get that information. However, some of the high schools, they should have a table always during lunch that say join the army. So we need to invest more in what our kids are getting. They don't know. Not everybody have mom and dad who went to college. And the conversation around the table is about education, or it's about how you guys what is your future? How can I help you? People struggle sometimes. They have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. That's parents, they do the best, and they don't even have it. They're just working. So school is still, I think schools, they still playing a big role, especially in high school kids. And that's where I think we can make a difference. And I was part of the educational system, like formal educational system, for many years. And I think that start with the superintendent, all down, we need to hire the right leaders. Yeah. Those leaders who, when the budget comes to schools, they say, we need that position and someone who really can guide our student to the next step. Yes. Not to give a bunch of links for them to apply, but also to say, here you are, but here are your options. Yes. Spend 20 minutes with every kid who's going to graduate and give them the right resources. That will make a difference. Yes. That's gold. That will that will change a whole generation if they do that. Amen. So I feel very strongly about that because I see the other side. I see where there is lack of information, when the kids are lost. The kids are lost in high school, many of them, especially the less resources your parents have, the more lost you are. And we as a society, we need to have more. We need to support more. The next generations. They are the future, and we are talking at DEI. And let me tell you something. DEI, generation millennials, the generation Y and the generation Z, they got it. Those kids are more open-minded. Those kids have more sense of equity. So we have gold there. How are we going to utilize the next generations? We need to do a much better job.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really important point that any direction towards education helps the entire system. You benefit education, you benefit people's ability to get to information, to get to opportunities that just cascades for the rest of life. We spending all this time in the corporate world, like trying to bootstrap these onto people who didn't learn it when they were in school or didn't learn things when they were younger. I mean, it's absolutely possible, but it takes a lot more work than helping create that mindset in the first place, and then just being able to use that right out the gate.
Yeah. Sometimes when we ended up in corporations, you know what it is? It's a group of 80% of broken kids.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
People who hate their jobs, hate they hate what they do.
Yep.
And why? We can do a better job. We can do a better job, believe me.
Yeah.
So that's in my heart.
That's very crucial.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of last questions for you, Maria. The first one is, what's your definition of authenticity?
My definition of authenticity is being able to be the best that we can be and be authentic. Yeah. Being authentic and being okay being okay with being who we are. Taking the time to learn who we are and being okay with that. Embracing that person that we have worked so hard to be, and we don't even know who that person is.
Setting the intention to find out who we are and being okay with it.
Yep.
Love that.
I love talking to you, Maria. You have so much hope and so much enjoyment in what you do and bringing that to the world. So to share that, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch with you?
Well, I have a website. It's www.leaddei.com. They also can find me in LinkedIn. And I will invite everybody to join us for the conference. And anybody can join us for the conference, really. We will make the tickets for the conference are completely affordable. And if they cannot, they can reach out. We will help. We want them to be there. So
excellent. We'll make sure to put the conference link in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
no,
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just keep thanking each other, and then we'll do it in person too. Let's get together in person and continue the conversations.
Absolutely.
Good talking to you, Maria. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.